All right, let's dive right in. We're tackling something today that really feels like the absolute ground floor, the essential starting point for making sense of all this AI tech buzzing around us. So this deep dive, it's all about getting to grips with the core ideas of artificial intelligence and this really crucial skill called prompt engineering. The material you shared, it seems like a roadmap, really, setting the stage for understanding modern AI, especially like large language models.
That's exactly right. And the sources, they really stress this. This specific topic is presented as level 1, the absolute first step you need. It's designed to give you both the understanding and, importantly, the practical skills for interacting with today's AI models, those LLMs specifically.
Okay. Let's unpack that then. The sources start right at the beginning. Yeah. What is AI, at its core? Let's strip away the sci-fi stuff for a second. What's the definition we're working with here?
Well, at its heart, artificial intelligence, as defined in the sources, is essentially about creating machines that can simulate human intelligence. So they're programmed to think in ways that mimic our own cognitive functions and, perform actions we associate with being smart.
Simulate human intelligence.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the key thing isn't programming them for every single possible scenario. It's more about designing them with these core capabilities. The sources actually list them out. They need to be able to learn it, like acquire information and rules. They need to reason, use those rules to draw conclusions. They're built for problem solving, using information to reach goals. Perception comes into it too, understanding input. And critically, for what we're talking about today, language understanding, comprehending human language.
Right, so it's this mix, learning how to process stuff and then using rules to figure things out or do something specific. What's interesting, and the source points this out, is that it's not always about explicit step-by-step coding for every little thing, right?
Exactly. And that ability, the ability to learn patterns from data rather than being explicitly told every single step for every task. That's really where machine learning comes in. The sources mention AI is this huge fit, machine learning, deep learning, computer vision, NLP, lots of areas.
Right.
But the kind of AI we're mostly interacting with now and what this foundational material focuses on, it relies heavily on machine learning. It's all about spotting complex patterns in, just massive amounts of data. The source actually notes that getting this is key to understanding the foundations of AI applications today.
Okay, that makes sense. It's the learning from data part that's driving a lot of this. Which brings us, kind of smoothly actually, to what feels like the main characters in these sources. They keep mentioning LLMs, large language models. So if AI is the big umbrella, where do these LLMs fit?
Yeah, they're presented as a specific and really important type of AI model within that broader field. Their whole purpose, it's right there in the name, is centered on human language. Understanding it, generating new text, manipulating it.
And the large part, is that just about size?
Pretty much. The sources explain it's down to the just enormous scale of data they're trained on, and also the sheer number of parameters, sort of like internal knobs and dials they have. It's this massive scale that lets them capture all the really complex stuff in language.
Yeah.
The nuances, style, context, everything that makes it so rich.
Wow.
And they're also a prime example of generative AI that actually creates new content, like text.
Yeah.
The sources mention that understanding where they came from, generative AI's background, is also part of this foundational picture.
Okay, I think I'm connecting the dots now. So AI is the big smart machines. Machine learning is a key way we train them, often with tons of data. And LLMs are a specific result of that, laser focused on language, using that ML approach. And these are the engines behind the tools we actually use, right? The sources list examples like OpenAI's models, Google Gemini, Claude.
Precisely, yeah. When you're interacting with, say, a chatbot or a writing assistant powered by those names, you're dealing with these kinds of LLMs. That list from the source OpenAI via their API or Playground, Google Gemini, Claude, Mistral AI, others for text. Those are the concrete examples of the language models they're talking about, the ones you'll likely run into.
All right, so we have these incredibly powerful language-savvy AI models. The big question then becomes, how do we actually get them to do what we want? This seems to be where the sources really focus in on prompt engineering. What exactly is that, and why is it so fundamental? It's right here at level 1.
Right. Prompt engineering. It's framed as the absolutely essential skill for directing these models. It's basically the process of carefully designing and refining the input you give the AI. We call that input the prompt. And the whole point is to guide the AI towards producing the specific output you're looking for.
Writing.
The sources describe it nicely as like the art and science of writing effective instructions for AI. Think of the prompt as literally the instructions or the question or the command you give the model.
So it's more than just typing a random question. It's about crafting it intentionally.
Exactly.
Why is that initial instruction, that prompt, so incredibly important? Why dedicate a whole core part of this foundational level to it?
Well, this is where the sources really hammer home its importance. They basically say, if the LLM is this incredibly powerful engine, then prompt engineering is your steering wheel, your accelerator, your controls. It's presented as crucial for a few key reasons. First, it's the main way you learn the techniques you need to actually get useful responses back. Relevant stuff. A powerful model isn't much help if you can't ask it the right way.
Right, makes sense. Useless power otherwise.
Precisely. Second, prompt engineering is how you exert control. Real control over the AI's output. The source mentions things like influencing the topic, the style of writing, the format, the tone. You can even set specific constraints, like don't mention X, or write it like Y.
Okay, so you're shaping the result.
We're shaping the result. And this control is vital if you need predictable, reliable outcomes for specific tasks. And speaking of tasks, the sources point out it's flat out necessary for doing practical things they mention, like generating compelling stories or maybe social media posts. We're using the AI to effectively analyze and summarize documents.
Okay.
The quality of your prompt directly impacts how well the AI performs on those jobs.
So it's not just a nice to have, it's fundamental for practical use.
Absolutely. To kind of pull together what the sources are saying, prompt engineering isn't some advanced trick you learn later. It's the fundamental way you interface with these models. It's the skill that turns the LLM's massive language capability into something practical and controllable for you. Mastering it now, which is what this level 1 material is all about, build that essential groundwork for everything else, like refining prompts later, testing them, integrating AI into bigger workflows.
That connection really clicks now. Okay. AI is the broad capability. LLMs are these super powerful language tools within it. And prompt engineering is our tool. It's our essential skill for actually steering them, controlling them, and turning all that potential into, real results.
Exactly that. Understanding these core pieces, the big idea of AI, what LLMs are, and why they're large and language focused, and crucially, why prompt engineering is the key skill for interacting with them. That's the absolute foundation this material is trying to build. It sets you up directly for anything deeper you might explore or any practical assignments you might tackle using these amazing tools.
Yeah, it really feels like being handed the keys to the car, doesn't it? And it definitely leaves you thinking. If getting the AI to do exactly what you want really hinges on how well you give those instructions, what kind of precise prompts, what exact words might you need to craft to get that perfect outcome from a machine that literally understands language. Something to definitely mull over as you start playing with these tools.